the best version of my story. And I am so eternally grateful for that, because I don't think it happens that often that you call someone, you pitch your life story, and they're like, oh, yeah, sure, let's do this. Sounds good. Like, I don't think that happens a lot. And I don't think you have any idea of what you have done for me. And by putting your, no, I'm serious. You putting all this time in me, like, it literally, it's so kind. It's so extremely kind. And I'll be eternally grateful for that, really.
Well, staying in the theme of being kind, a lot of people ask me for help, but I don't always really get the idea that people really want to do something with a vision and with passion. And after 2 minutes of talking to you on the phone, I was like, she really wants this. I have no idea how we're going to do this, but I think it's worth to try. Thank you as well. This has been one of the most special projects in my life. So
you're amazing. You are so amazing.
Oh, you stop it.
I feel like I am so lucky to be able to witness this kind of beautiful connection between the two of you. Yeah, I know. I'm the documentary maker now. Orihana, who knows what will happen in the future for you as a result of the work that you've done here. It seems like you have a really great talent for making these documentaries and framing the life stories of people.
This is not my area of expertise, but apparently it worked out okay.
I want to ask you some questions about yourself now. So you were also an immigrant to the Netherlands, and you also grew up as part of Dutch society. You are Dutch in your own way. What was it like for you to grow up in the Netherlands?
Terrible. It was extremely hard, and I think the most important word is lonely. I am not sure if I was such a lonely kid because I'm just a weird kid, but I'm certain that not being Dutch and not being able to fit in with at least other kids' interests and other kids' families was a very large part of it. Yeah, it was a very lonely and very existential youth for someone. You shouldn't be 9 years old and thinking about things like you just said, what culture is better? And where do I want to fit in? What part of me is resonating more with what I want to become in life? You should be playing with, stupid kid stuff. It was very, I don't know, it's like Yennhi said in the documentary, you're just forced to grow up so much quicker than you usually would, I think. But I always try to look at it this way. If my childhood would have been really easy, I would not be the person I am today. And there was a long time where I really craved to experience the other side of it, just being this normal, blonde, blue-eyed, skinny, white kid with, two parents who still go out on walks together. But it just didn't happen, and it's okay now. I'm so okay with everything now. If I told you it was easy, I would be lying.
I don't think any immigrant or immigrant's kid can ever say that their lives have been easy.
Right? Yeah, that's what I'm learning.
Yeah.
Because I don't really know a lot of immigrant kids. The first time I actually talked about a lot of these things was with Yennhi, which is so weird. It's so strange. Of course I have my sister and stuff, but it's different. You experience things as a bundle, but an external person. The thing that I'm never going to forget ever is that Yennhi was like, yeah, I used to have to translate all these government papers. And I was like, what? So did I. Oh my God. And it was so hard. And I didn't, and I was like, oh shit, of course we shared these experiences, but I never thought about it that way. So it's getting even easier, even though I'm sort of over it. Because, you can always find connection if you just keep your eyes open. I don't think I did. I don't think I had my eyes open. I think I was very closed off. I was like, I don't want to have anything to do with this. And that's changing also because of this documentary.
Mm-hmm. You didn't want anything to do with the process of thinking about what it meant to be an immigrant, what it meant to fit in.
At one point in my life, I was just kind of done. I was just so tired, and it's just so so difficult to just constantly be thrown around. It's so difficult to constantly be thinking about things. I am not really a worried person. I'm not a person who worries a lot. And this took away so much of my time. And at one point I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to think about this anymore. I have way too much stuff to do to constantly be like, am I Latina enough? Am I Dutch enough? No, you're not. You're not either, and you're not both. Just leave it. I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah, it was very frustrating.
There is this interesting thing that happens with people who live in multiple cultures, and I definitely relate to this myself, which is at one point you feel like you have to make a choice. And
yes.
I'm wondering how, and of course that is kind of like a false binary, right? You cannot just choose one part of yourself. You know, you're not half of one thing, half of the other, as if the two things could be separated. And then,
but I wanted it to be.
I'm sure we have all wanted it to be.
I really wanted it.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
When I was a child, when I was, I don't know, like 11 or something, I remember very clearly being really aggressively anti-Dutch stuff. No, I am South American. We do things this way. Oh, is that how your family does that? Ha ha! How lame. And then, a few years later, when I was a little older in high school, I had the complete opposite thing, where I was like, God damn, those South Americans are really problematic in many, many ways. Why did I want to cling on to that so much? No. I'm just gonna... And then when people asked me where I came from, I was uncomfortable because I speak Dutch very well. I do not have an accent, but people look at me and they're like, you're not Dutch.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, Yennhi. You get exactly what I mean. So at one point, explaining what are you is very complicated, and it brings it up every single time for yourself as well. And I was just done with it. But I have come to terms with something that Yennhi said as well, is that you just really have to realize that you can have the best of both worlds, and that also is a privilege. I get to stand with one foot in this world and the other foot in the other, and experience the best parts of both. The worst parts of both as well, but also the best parts, and we get to choose. Not everyone can say that.
I'm wondering how you both have navigated this potential divide. You know, how do you deal with the contradictions that are in yourself when one of the cultures says, oh, it should be this way, the other culture says, oh, it should be the other way, and you agree with both of them and you disagree with both of them?
Interesting question. Very good question too.
I think for me, it really has been age and experience, just really getting older. Now I can look at things with less of an emotional attachment to it. I can be very, very black and white about, okay, this is how you guys look at it, this is how you guys look at it. How do I look at it? It's just a way more practical way of thinking. I think growing up, identity is such an important and difficult part of life. Even if I grew up here as a blue-eyed, blonde, tall Dutch girl, identity is always an issue. So I think that just now being in our early 20s and getting a grip on our feelings and who we are, I think that's the thing you need. It's just time. You need time. The problems we're faced with are just too much for a 16-year-old to handle. And 16-year-olds are dealing with enough crap in their lives. I mean, existential crises about culture, give it a little bit of time. I promise you, things will get so much better.
Yeah, I think you and I are maybe a bit the opposite, because I think I can be practical too and think very practical, but I'm also...
You're super emotional.
Yes, but I'm also...
You already cried twice.
Yes, I am very emotional. And yeah, I think that's a really great thing, because I think that emotions really are reflections of what you think, of what you really think. So whenever I'm not sure what I should choose, I really just listen to my emotions. I try to feel my emotions, and then from there on make a decision. Yeah, and I think that really works for me now, but I was always a bit afraid of my emotions because I thought they were making me weak. but it's actually just what's making me human. And that was maybe also one of the reasons that I was a bit scared to put out my documentary, because it's so emotional, and emotions are sometimes seen as something bad or as something that you should avoid. But I've come at peace with my emotions and my feelings and my thoughts, and now that I feel really aligned and centered, and that's giving me so much peace, really.
So do you feel, Yennhi, do you feel not so much the strength of this contradiction in you so much anymore?
No, not that much, because as Orihana also said before, we have this privilege that we can choose. And even if I agree with both, why not incorporate both? I think that's one of the most beautiful things about having this third culture thing. You get to decide what that means to you. And that's why exploring your identity is also so fascinating and exciting, because you get to go on this journey that some other people don't.
Absolutely.
And it's making you, yeah, and it's making you whole as a person. And like, how beautiful is that?
What a wonderful message. Do you both feel Dutch in similar ways, or what does being Dutch mean?
Oh, God.
That's a fun question.
I don't know if I will ever fully feel Dutch. And I don't know if I will ever fully feel Latina. And I am not looking for that anymore. Where I really wanted to cling on to feeling any of anything, I am now really like, it doesn't really matter to me. I think it's, I try to look at it like, I don't have the experience Yennhi had. Yennhi, like, going back to her roots into Vietnam, I do not have the same feeling that that is going to help me. I think just letting it go for me has been so wonderful, because I can tell people, I grew up in Europe. I was born in South America, and I have very funny and terrible and strange and hilarious experiences, and that's okay. What does it mean to feel Dutch? I don't know. I'm also so different from my friends. It's Jesus, this is such a hard question. I'm gonna give it to Yennhi.
I think what it means to me to be Dutch, because, like, I do resonate with some Dutch things. And what I really admire about Dutch culture is that they are so open. And I've seen that with my grandparents, because what's so interesting about them too is that if it would be America, they would vote for Trump. That's the kind of people they are.
Your Dutch grandparents, you mean?
Yes, my Dutch grandparents. They
Wow.
are actually they can be very racist towards other people, but
So interesting.
that is, I know. And I think that that's what makes it so interesting, because that's also what I really pointed out in the interview I did with my grandpa. I told him that even though we're not related, our connection is so strong, but you were just open to us. And that's why, because he would always say, oh, like, all the foreigners have to leave the country because, because I think he's just really terrified. But then I told him, like, oh, but grandpa, you know that dad is also a refugee, right? Like, he was also a refugee just like the other people. And then he would go like, no, but that's different. And I'm like, no, grandpa, it's not any different.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same.
It's different because he knows him.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what makes a difference. And that's what I've been trying to tell him and explain to him, that you have been open to us. And that's why you see us as no threat, like how I would say that. That's why you don't see us as a threat. But what do you think would happen if everyone would be that open towards each other and that kind and understanding? What wonderful things could happen from that,
I have something to add. Yennhi, you say the Dutch are very open, but I have never experienced it that way, because I sometimes have I think it's a problem of juxtaposition and point of reference, point of view. The Latinos they say everything that's on their mind and are so expressive and talkative, and they don't shut up. So for me, the Dutch are very closed.
In comparison.
Yeah. So for us, being Dutch is such a different thing. I like it. I like it that the Dutch are a little bit more practical and a little less emotional than the Latinos are. Yennhi probably loves it that the Dutch are so emotional and more...
Right. You come from totally different ends of the spectrum.
What does it mean to be Dutch? It depends on what